Welcome to the Protecting Your Nest podcast. When I attended the KetoCon conference in Austin, Texas in July, it was really a lot of fun because I had a chance to meet many of the clinicians, scientists, and influencers I've admired in the world of low carb, keto, and carnivore. I had a chance to speak about metabolic health and sit on a panel with Dr. Annette Boswell, Dr. Gabrielle Lyon, Dr. Christopher Palmer, Dr. Anna Sabaka, Dr. Stephen Hussey, and Dr. Ali Miller. But it wasn't just the time on stage and during lectures that I enjoyed myself, but it was also the time between lectures and during dinner where I had the opportunity to meet other influencers, one of whom I wanted to bring to today's episode. Today's guest is Ileka Falette. Ileka is a YouTuber, executive business life and keto coach, as well as a certified personal trainer and public speaker. She uses her personal transformation, which is going to amaze you, knowledge about lifestyle changes, as well as her experience as a business consultant and talent development leader to help those who want to get to the next level in life and in their profession. She's now the CEO of Life Health Now, where she is transforming lives through health, fitness, and mindset coaching, and of course, accountability. She is the wife of a cool guy I'm sure I'm going to meet one day, and the mom of 4 beautiful children. And through Life Health Now is transforming lives through health, fitness, and mindset coaching, and of course, accountability. And with that, Ileka, it's my pleasure to welcome you to the Protecting Your Nest podcast.
Thank you so much, Dr. Hampton. This is awesome. I'm really excited, and it was wonderful meeting you at KetoCon. It was such an amazing experience.
Yeah, it was. I'm so happy. I remember watching one of your videos and you're like, you kind of made a last minute decision to come. And sometimes life's a chance meeting. And to be frank, when I started my keto low carb journey, I have been, looking for more people of color to, kind of spread this message. And so clearly when I saw you and saw your YouTube channel and the work you're doing, I said, yes, there's more of us out there. I didn't feel like
Lone wolf.
yeah, lone wolf, right? So very happy that you're out here helping to heal people because it's so transformational, and I'm so happy you're with us. So let's kind of start our conversation talking a little bit about, I know you do a lot of coaching of others and you run your business, and oh my God, you seem busy like me. It's just so busy, right? And it's something that you have to really figure out. A lot of people are trying to do 100 things and not getting anything done. So when you think about your work-life balance, because so many people who check out the work we do, they're just trying to do too much. You have 4 kids, you have a husband, you're trying to run your business. Where and how did you find balance in all of that?
Yeah, it's funny because when I first started my business, I was working my business the same way I work in corporate America, right? So I was 12, 14-hour days. And I literally had to step back and say, why did I start my business in the first place? I considered going back to corporate because I was working so many hours.
Right.
I was making good money, but the hours were insane.
Mhm.
I remember a time when my son said to me, we were at Thanksgiving dinner, and he said, "Oh, I'm just so happy that mommy's eating dinner with us today." And I was like,
Wow.
"Oh my gosh, right?
Uh-oh.
Ouch, right?"
Wow.
And that was my situation. I was working insane hours, being everything in my business, and then still trying to be a mom. So trying to be at everything, every soccer game and violin, concert and all those things, and literally running myself ragged while trying to teach others to be healthy. And I had this aha moment that there's no way I can be healthy without getting enough rest. And
Yeah.
so what I realized is, in order to truly have that, like, work less, live more, right, and
Hmm.
feel better, I
That's
had to
right.
shift my mindset. We have to shift that mindset of, in order to make more, we've got to work more, right? Because that's what we've been told forever.
That's
And
right.
so when we embrace the fact that we get to still make a great income and align things in the right way so that we can get the things done, right? Um, then we get to actually make a great income and work less. So I have a client, if you don't mind me telling a quick story.
Oh yeah.
I have a client named Eva, and Eva has this business, amazing business, where she helps clients, improve their health through health and fitness. So it's like reduce chronic disease and just feel better and reduce inflammation, all the things, right? So Eva had her business for about 2 years, and she'd been doing all the things. She'd been creating client plans, having them launch programs, launching her additional programs, creating the web pages, all the things. And she was working 12 hours a day, 7 days a week. And Eva was only making about $1,500 a month. Can you imagine working 84 hours a week and making $1,500 a month?
Mm-mm-mm.
So Eva and I met in a clubhouse room on keto, and she was giving amazing value. And I thought, wow, this woman's incredible. I need to meet her.
Mm-hmm.
So we connected afterwards. And when we met, we began talking about, I asked her, why is she here? Like, why is she in the clubhouse rooms? Like, what is she doing? And she was like, well, I was like, have you ever gotten clients in the clubhouse? It's like, well, not yet. And I was like, okay. And I noticed she was in clubhouse a lot. So I asked her, what is your vision? What do you want to do? She said, I want to speak on stages and I want to have a freedom filled life. And I want to
Mm-hmm.
be healthy and share that message of improved health and that we can live healthy. So I said, well, what are you doing now? Oh, that's aligning with that. You're sharing the message. That's great. But there's no way you're getting freedom filled with doing these things. So when we started working together, I showed her how to align all of her tasks to her vision. Because when we get to align our tasks to our vision, we get to see what we're doing that doesn't align to our vision.
Mm.
And that's where that busyness comes in, doing all these things that don't actually align to the vision.
Mm.
And then I got it. We talked about her limiting belief around, in order to charge what she should be charging for her level of
Mm.
expertise. In her mind, she thought she had to be a doctor or a nurse
Mm-hmm.
practitioner or a massive YouTube influencer with a million
Mm-hmm.
followers in
Right.
order to charge. And so what we did was, first of all, we removed that limiting belief and we replaced it with her embracing her own expertise, because she was an expert in this space that she was in.
Mm.
And then through that, she got to embrace and step into her power and authority. And so now Eva speaks on stages across the country. She works now she works 4 hours a day, 5 days a week, and is bringing around $5,000 a month.
Mm.
So she literally went from $1,500 a month, working 84 hours a week, to $5,000 a month, working 20 hours a week. And so it comes down to whether you are, whether you're making $10,000 a month and want to make 50, or you're making 15 and want to make, 5,000. Basically, it comes down to the same things, the same three steps. Fuel yourself to be an accelerator, right? Love what you do what you love, because then you get to align it, and shift your mindset to shift your life. And that's how you get to work less. That's how you get to improve that productivity, because that is the key to that work life balance.
Mm. You preaching. You preaching.
Yeah.
I love it. It sounds like music to my ears, and I I think about one of my colleagues. He told me, and it resonated with me so much. First of all, I did the math, and it was about $17 an hour. That's what she was paying herself for all of those hours of
Yeah.
work. Ugh. So I had a doctor colleague of mine who was with his son and maybe some other people, and they asked the son about, what does your dad do? And he said, oh, he's in the computer business. And that's because every time every time her dad every time he was with his dad, he was on his computer doing work, right?
Yeah.
Every day of the week. So it's like, really, your dad's in the computer business. So I love this idea of we have to work smarter,
Mhm.
and I'm so happy that you were able to kind of coach her towards that, because man, look at all this other time she has to not only be with her family but to think and figure out what her vision is and to fulfill it. So, hey, I'm a big fan. So, but it is amazing that you left the security, I say with quotes, of corporate America, right? Because many people feel it's a more secure space. Many people don't become entrepreneurs because they figure the 9 to 5 with, some corporation behind you is more secure. So what gave you the courage to step away? Because it takes courage, I think, to walk away from that.
You know what? So it's funny because I had wanted to start a YouTube channel forever. Even when I was 350 pounds, I thought, wow, I should start a YouTube channel. I just wanted to do that.
Mm-hmm.
But I was scared. There was some fear in there around doing it. Like,
Mm-hmm.
wow, is anybody going to watch?
Mm-hmm.
How do people even do YouTube? I don't know what I'm doing. We come up with all the little things, right? And so I was in corporate America, and while I was still working, I actually lost the weight then. So I had lost the 120 plus some odd pounds. I really don't know how much I lost. I know it was at least 120, so that's a number I say. But I don't know how much I weighed because I stopped weighing after a while. So yeah, so in corporate America, um, my husband and I, because I was working so wild then, so many hours then, and it was secure. It felt secure, right? My husband and I, we had a plan for me to leave corporate. We had a 2-year plan. I'll never forget it, right? It was a 2-year plan. We came up with the plan in 2016. 2-year plan. We're going to leave corporate. We're going to save up this amount, and we're going to pay off the cars and do all the things, right? And have enough money so we can go on vacation. And then I'm going to just leave, right? We didn't think I was going to leave and do something else. We just thought I was going to leave and be a stay-at-home mom, 4 kids, and um, so that was the plan. In 2017, when the presidential situation changed, right? Right.
It
That's
changed.
how I was going to call it. My company laid off half the company, and the position that I was in was like, people had to be there. Like, I managed the people. Like, I was in professional development, leadership development, that whole thing.
Mm,
And so if there's nobody to bring up into
right.
leadership development, you don't need somebody's managing leader,
No.
right? So I remember it was July. They had layoffs in February, May, and then finally in July they were like, "Ileka, we love you, but we just can't." And I was like, "I get it." And so, well, I'm acting like I cried first because I was like, "Oh my gosh, what am I going to do?" And and it was funny because we were going on our 10-year anniversary trip on that weekend, and I just lost my job. We were
Mm.
going to Hawaii. It was a whole thing. And now it's like we don't have, the income is not coming in. So what I did was um, I at first I thought, okay, well, I have a little bit of a severance and I have unemployment. So I
Mm-hmm.
thought, you know what? I'll just maybe we can go a year earlier.
Mm-hmm.
But then we were like, no, we can't. Let me just look for jobs, look for jobs. It was that mindset. Let me find something. And I swear God kept saying, stop looking for jobs. You're not getting a good
Right.
job. Everything I sent out for did not come through. And it was roles that were right up my alley.
Okay.
So my husband said, you should start a YouTube channel. You've been saying you want to do
Mm.
it for years. And I was like, okay, I'll do it.
Mm-mm-mm.
Started the channel, and it did not grow. No money was
Mm-hmm.
coming in at first.
Mm-hmm.
And but what ended up happening was I touched a few people, and someone said, would you coach me? And I was like, well, I'm not a coach.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I said. I'm not a coach. Meanwhile, I've been an executive coach,
Right.
a career coach, leadership development. I don't even know what that is. What's a weight loss coach? What's a keto coach? I had
Right.
no clue. And so she kept like coming, like saying, no, 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 I want you. And I was like, well, maybe there's somebody else out there. Try Weight Watchers. No, 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 you're my person. And so finally I said, okay, I'll do it. And I remember it was April of 2018, and she was my first client, and she lost 120 pounds. And I was like, oh my goodness.
Oh my God.
Right.
And I was excited because you lost 120 pounds, but there's more. There's more.
Right. I was like, oh my gosh, this is a thing. and people were coming and other people were losing weight. I couldn't even believe it. Um, but what really hit me was that, I was helping people lose weight, and it was like really filling my heart because I didn't want anybody to feel like I felt. So when I was over 300 pounds, I remember my knees hurt so bad. My
Mm-hmm.
back was always in pain. And, my feet, I had plantar fasciitis in both feet. So I struggled to even like walk, you know? And it's even just thinking about that just sounds weird now because now I'm like everywhere. But at the time, I struggled to even walk. So it was a really tough thing. And I thought, if I can help someone else change that feeling, because it's more than just, oh, there's that pain, but there's also what is my husband looking at? That's what I remember
Mm-hmm.
thinking that he wasn't thinking it. I was thinking it,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. He didn't even realize that I had gained that much weight
Mm-hmm.
because we were looking
Mm-hmm.
at a picture later. And I was like, and he said, I remember we were standing in the picture. He's like, no, you weren't that. That wasn't you. I don't remember you being that size.
Mm-hmm.
He said this, the camera, well, they say the camera adds weight. And I said, well, did it only add weight to me? Because you look the same. So did the camera choose who it wanted to add the weight to?
That's funny.
Because I was like, because clearly,
Oh
he's
my
like, we're not going
goodness.
to add any weight to him, only to her. I was like, no, that was what I looked like, but
That's crazy.
he didn't even notice. He didn't realize it, I think. Um, but yeah, so I wanted women to get that confidence back, to
Yeah.
feel better. And I realized, only since I've lost the weight, I realized how much that weight and what it was doing up here was impacting my career, like in terms of income, in terms of level. I was an executive, but I could have been a senior executive, like all of those things. And I'm sure there was some impact on the other side where they're looking at me and assuming that I can't do something because of my
Mm-hmm.
size.
Mm-hmm.
But there's also me assuming that I can't step up to that level. I don't know if I want to speak on stage in front of all these people. Everybody's looking at me. Let me pull down my shirt, that sort of thing. And so for the women that I worked with, I didn't want them to have that feeling. I wanted them to be able to overcome that feeling of, I'm not worthy of doing this because of my weight, and for me, that was hugely fulfilling. And that was
Yeah.
my biggest thing.
Well, again, that's why I am so thankful that I have a NEST and a ROPE acronym, because that thinking, that T in that NEST is so
Mhm.
critical to avoid those self-limiting thoughts, right? And I have so many patients that I talk to, and I'm finding that there's a percentage that'll take my little double-sided, handout that talks about what to eat and what not to eat, right?
Mhm.
And they'll take that and do just fine. But then there's this other portion of the group that's like they're going to struggle, and a lot of it is in their head.
Yeah.
And so, and to overcome those demons, those negative thoughts, those self-limiting thinking, you have to keep feeding it the right stuff over and
Mhm.
over and over again. And no matter how successful you are, you still struggle with that. There are some people who are at the highest level of
Yes.
success and they're still fighting. That's why you were an executive coach, because these are people who are already successful, right?
Mhm.
Yet they
Yep.
still needed coaching. So coaching is so important. But I want to transition to why some people will actually listen to this episode, because they're probably going to look at the thumbnail, and I don't know what the thumbnail is going to say, but it's basically going to say this person did something amazing. So they want to know, what in the heck did she do to, lose over 120 pounds? It's an incredible feat. And I
Mhm.
just want to just give some of your thoughts on what was the basic foundational elements of that success. What did you do to achieve that?
Yeah. So definitely, I want to tell you what I did to lose the weight, and then it's okay to tell you how I kept it off,
Amen.
because
Let's do
that's
it.
a big piece,
That's huge.
and that's
Yeah.
something I
That's the
realized
hardest
really
part.
well. Yes, that it was harder to keep it off than it was to
Yes.
lose it. Yep.
Yes.
So I had been on diet since I was 8 years old. I was literally put on my first diet at 8. So my entire life, I was always the overweight one, the big one, the fat one, whatever they wanted to call it, right? And I, each time I had a baby, I would get on some sort of diet. I've tried, you name it, I've probably tried it, in terms of in terms of wanting to lose weight. But there were three things that happened, and it felt like right in a row that really said, you can't play games anymore. And the first one was we were at home playing or doing something, and I was probably on my phone or working, and my son said, "Hey, mommy, you want to come get on the floor and play with me?" And he was like, before I could even say anything, he said, "Well, I want you to play on the floor with me, but you're just so fat, and you probably can't get up and get on the floor. So, never mind. I'll just ask Daddy." And he wasn't like trying to be mean.
Mm-mm.
He was maybe 6, or maybe 7, I don't remember, but it was so matter of fact. Like, you're just so fat, so you can't get on the floor. Like, he was just rationalizing it in his head what the
But
situation was.
that's what the rest of the world may be saying too, right? Just, I mean, you
Right.
kind of reference that. Maybe that's why you struggle to
Mhm.
make those moves, because even our big babies, our big kids are saying the same thing. But yeah,
Exactly. Yep. So
okay.
that's what he said. And then so that hit me. Like, I pretended like, "Oh, that's okay, buddy." And my husband's like, "No, don't say that to mommy." And I was like, "No, no, no, I'm fine. Mommy's okay. I love you." And then I was like, "Oh, I'll be right back." And I went upstairs and cried. Somehow in that moment, I was able to run up the stairs and cry. And so it hit me so hard that he said that, because now I'm seeing that my kids are seeing it. And so maybe the next day or a few days later, it feels like all in one right now, but a few days later, we were at the doctor's office and number two happened. So we were at the doctor's office, taking all 4 kids to the doctor for their regular wellness visit. And the doctor says to me that my daughter, who was 1 at the time, she said that, she was ranging a little high on the weight, and basically, essentially, saying that I was needing to put my 1-year old on a diet. And so I'm looking at her and I'm thinking, she doesn't look like a big kid. I don't
Mm,
understand. But they're trying to give me all these things that we should do. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And I literally had a flashback from when I was 8 years old to that moment that the doctor was telling my mom that I had to go on a diet. And I was like, I can't do this to her.
mhm,
And so
mm,
I knew, like, that was like, boom, number two.
mm-mm,
And then on the way home from the doctor's office, we stopped by Target, because moms of 4 go to Target all the time. That's like our, hey, this is where we're going to go on our way from anywhere. So we just went to Target just to kind of walk around. And while we were there, my son, who was, I think he was like, because I have 4 kids. So I think it was the second son. He was like 4 or 5 at the time. I can't remember. And he ran off. And I was telling him to come here, but he wasn't coming. And so now I went to try and chase him, and I couldn't catch him. Some stranger from behind me had to run past me and ran past me and went and caught my son. So now 2 things struck me.
mm.
One, my son could have ran out the door and, been hit by a car or something, because Target's exit is right next to the to the street.
That's right.
So that was number one. Number two, what if the stranger wasn't like a good Samaritan, was just like a crazy person, grabbed my son and kept going?
Mhm,
If I couldn't catch my baby, I darn sure couldn't catch this person running past. So I'm like, oh my gosh, like, this is it. I cannot play this game anymore. So I'd already been trying to get some exercise in, but I immediately changed my eating. This is when I said, I need to do something different. I actually started off with a little bit of like portion control. And then
mhm.
a friend of mine told me about keto.
You just got lucky?
Hmm?
You just got lucky, and
Yeah,
keto just came up, you know?
right.
You
Yes.
didn't have to go through the whole vegan thing I went through for 8 years.
Oh no, the vegan thing happened, 4 years earlier. I was
Oh, okay, so
350
you did
pound
go through
vegan.
that. Okay.
Yeah, for 2 years.
Got you.
Yeah,
Okay, so
2
okay,
years.
got you. Okay.
Lost not 1 pound as a
Really?
vegan.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay.
She told me about it, and she just said, "Yeah, there's this, like, way of eating where you don't eat any carbs." And I was like, "Well, I can't not eat carbs."
Mhm,
And
mhm,
she's like, "Just try it. You might be able to
mhm,
do it." And so I started, like, researching it, and I just started by just removing the carbs. So what I did was, and this is the way I always show people, I'm like, you can still do this even with a family. So every meal that I had, I would essentially make the same meal. So if
Mhm.
we're doing, rice, a vegetable and a meat, right? So rice, broccoli, and chicken. I'm going to eat the rice and the broccoli. I'm sorry, the chicken and the broccoli. They're going to eat the rice and the chicken and broccoli. And so I would still continue cooking the same meals. And I had at this point, with those major things that happened all in a row, I had the determination, dedication to do it.
Mm.
I had to be setting a good example for the kids. I had to be healthy and I had to change what I was doing. So I ate like that and I exercised. Every morning I got up at 6 a.m., sometimes 5:30, depending on what was happening. Meaning I had to be there at 5:30. I was doing a boot camp. I had to be there at 5:30, and then we'd do an hour of the boot camp, and then I'd come back, and I would do like a beach body workout or something like
Mhm.
that. Like
Mhm.
that was like pretty common for me. 4 days a week. I was just so determined. So I lost the weight really quickly. I lost it in probably less than a year.
Wow, that
Yeah,
kinda weight in a year. So and
yeah.
I saw your videos, and you were definitely hitting the gym, pretty with the ropes or whatever you were doing. I was like, "Oh my god." So you
We
were
was doing
definitely
it all.
motivated, highly motivated, and then but again, it's, it's maintaining that that's
Right.
so hard, and so bumps along the way, I'm sure,
Mhm.
that you've had. So when you struggled, like, how did you overcome those struggles? Because I'm sure you struggle. So
Mm,
many of my patients struggle.
yeah, yeah. My biggest thing was, so there was that I think I have a video that's 30 pounds in 30 days, how I lost 30 pounds in 30 days.
Yes.
And and the reason I had to lose 30 pounds in 30 days was because I gained 40 pounds in 2 months. So,
Yeah, I
so
saw that video, and it was, like, the most viewed video you shared, so that's crazy. Yeah,
uh-huh.
a lot of people resonated with that.
Right. Because see, the thing was, I'd kept the weight off for, a year and a half or something at this point. And I've been doing pretty consistent with it and feeling good. And then I got busy, right? I
Mhm,
was coaching multiple clients. I was, still momming and wifing, obviously, right? So doing that. And then I was also becoming certified as a personal trainer. So I reverted back to a lot of my old habits. And I thought, well, as long as I'm eating organic,
right.
let me have
That's the
these
key.
flaxseed brownies.
Right. Yeah, flaxseed brownies,
Right.
I
That
definitely
was her
remember during
favorite.
my vegetarian vegan days, I was eating a whole lot of stuff like that. Spent a lot of
Yep.
time in the bathroom, by the way.
Exactly. So I'm
Okay.
doing that and I gained the weight. So what I
Mhm,
realized was I had to do some major work up here. And I got help. I actually
mhm,
reached out to a friend of mine that she's not necessarily a mindset coach, but she works in that space and works in some
mhm,
other spaces. So I got help specifically up here around mindset, around changing my relationship with food. And that's actually, and as I got the help, I began implementing it in my program because one thing I realized when my first client who I talked about who lost 120 pounds,
mhm.
a year after she lost the weight, she had actually she got pregnant and then she gained an additional 150 pounds back. So I was like, wow. And I knew in my heart that I'd done a disservice because though I'd helped her lose the weight and reach that target, I didn't do anything up here because I didn't know what I didn't know. Right. I found it out myself even after the fact.
Mhm,
So I ended up getting certified in mindset. I ended up getting certified in NLP and adding that to my program so that now as you're losing the weight, you're changing the mindset, you're shifting the mindset
mhm.
so you can
Okay.
shift your life overall. And so when she came back, I was like, whoa. And it's a major deal. When we get to change that relationship with food, and understand that we can still enjoy food and to enjoy food doesn't necessarily equate to eating everything and eating all of
Mhm,
the food, you know, understanding that there are going to be times when everything on our plate isn't keto and that's okay. But the relationship with food has to change and we've got to understand where it came from. So it comes down to understanding where that relationship came from, right? Like, why did it start? Is it from family? Is it from some sort of situation that we've gone through? What is it, right? I realized for me, it came from a happy plate.
Mm-hmm.
I was honored for having a happy plate. Like, a happy plate means you ate everything on your plate, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's what it meant when I was a kid.
Right.
And so I was being honored for that. I remember my cousin was always in trouble because she didn't eat everything on her plate. And I ate
Mm-hmm.
everything. I made a happy plate. And then understand why we're holding on to the weight in the first place. So something I do with my clients is we walk through to get a real true understanding of why they were holding on to the weight. And so sometimes and there's so many different reasons for it. Sometimes who is it hurting? Who is it helping? Like, what is it there? Who is it protecting? And my own story was, I realized that for me, my weight in my unconscious mind, my subconscious mind, I believe that my weight was helping me to be seen.
Mm.
So I'm the second of four girls, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, by the time it was, after I was born, and then I was like, it was my turn to be seen, my younger sister was born. So now I was just like, in the corner. No,
That's
nobody
right.
really
That's
noticed
right.
me, right?
Not at all.
Which is, I get it. I've got four kids now. I'm like, Mom, I get it. I'm sorry that I was, you know.
Right.
But yeah. So when I was 8, and like, I hadn't, nobody's seeing me, no one's seeing me. Then when I was 8, it was like, got to put her on this diet. Now my mom's taking me to the nutritionist, and we're exercising together, and we're eating, because my mom was only 135 pounds at 5'4".
Mm-hmm.
We
Mm-hmm.
weighed the same. I was 8, she was, her 30
Wow.
something, and we weighed the same. Now, I
Mm.
will say we were close to the same height too. I was 5 feet tall at 8, but still, we weighed the same. So she didn't have to be on anybody's diet,
Mm-hmm.
but she would come with me on this journey. And so we were eating this together, and now she's seeing me. And so this is my time with my mom. So as long as I held on to the weight,
Mm.
I got the time. As long as I needed to be on another diet, I got the time. And here's the kicker that further affirmed, even as an adult, that the weight allowed me to be seen. My YouTube channel, and also in my coaching program, it was doing okay in 2018 when I
Mm-hmm.
when I was still, at my lowest weight and all that stuff. When I gained that 40 pounds back and showed myself losing the 40 pounds, that's when my channel skyrocketed. That's my views went up, my followers went up, my coaching program grew. That's when everything grew. And so that's when I was like, again,
Mm.
oh my goodness, it helps me. It allows me to be seen. I had to really do some in-depth work.
Yes, that's
And that's
deep.
that's what I dig into with my clients. Like, what is it? Like, I have to understand with my clients. I have a client right now named Liz, and are we work through to understand exactly why is she holding on to the weight. It's
This is
powerful.
this to underestimate how important it is to do this problem solving. And again, um, we use that root cause analysis
Yes.
thinking.
Hmm.
And if we don't take I talk to my colleagues and they say, there's no time when you see patients to kind of figure this stuff out, but at the end of, and I get it, because the visits are short when you're a conventionally trained doc in a conventional practice. But I'm going to tell you, if you never get to the root cause, you really are not helping people. It's like you have to, just hearing you share your story, it's like going to therapy. It's like, oh my God, you have to sit down with somebody and they got to help you peel those layers back. And
Hmm.
so I think people who are watching or listening, please make sure that you keep asking yourself, why? And you may need a professional to help guide you, but you have
Hmm.
to figure out, why am I really thinking this way or behaving? That's what's so cool about therapists and coaches. They're kind of trained to peel that onion
Hmm.
and to help you see what you can't see. And then I think once you see it, it makes sense. But sometimes we're not able to connect the dots. So And I think about struggle, right? And I'm looking at you. You got your braids. You're African American female. You're in corporate America, for Christ's sake. How
Mhm.
dare you do that, right? So I'm
Right.
wondering, as you've taken your journey even beyond, the weight and what type of challenges have you faced as a African American trying to find their way in a corporate world that doesn't always see you as equal? How has that been
Mhm.
for you?
Yeah. So it's funny because I was talking about that at an event today about that concept around being black either in corporate America and being black in even in the entrepreneur space.
Mhm.
Something that I've noticed. So first in corporate America, I noticed people taking my ideas or women. I'm going to tell a short story that happened when I was in corporate, and I actually shared this with a friend of mine who now has a company called Getting Black Women Paid. Her
Mm.
name is Teen, and she's
Mhm.
amazing. And so she's helping corporate women to get paid, right, to negotiate Black women. And
Mhm.
so I was sharing this story with her how I was basically like, it was clear amongst our team that I was the top performer.
Mhm.
Everyone knew it. The we were we ran this leadership development program, and the people in the program were saying, "Oh, I always want to thank Ileka." Other people's um, teams were coming to me. Do you hear the crying?
Oh,
Sorry.
but it's
Okay.
no. You know what? We need confirmation that you have 4 kids.
Right. Way to confirm
So,
it.
no, you're good, you're good.
Because he is definitely crying.
No, we're good.
so, so, but my daughter, she'll take care of it. She's the youngest,
Gotcha.
but she's the mom.
She got it,
So
okay.
anyway,
Right.
uh, so I was in corporate, and it was clear that I was the top performer, right?
Okay.
But I was on the phone with one of my colleagues. She's a good friend, and she was just venting and complaining about how she's upset. She's done with it. She's making less than everyone else
Mhm.
in the company or in our role, right? And so she tells me her salary. In that moment, I realized she was making $25,000 more than me,
Mm.
and and she even knew that I was.
Mhm. Right.
So she thought she was definitely making less than me, right?
Wow.
She was making 25K more,
Wow.
and I had no clue. And so this is what we do. We sit in this space where, especially as Black women, we sit in this space where we don't talk about our salary because we've been told not to, right? Whereas other races talk about their salary, they share it, and they're because they share it, they get to leverage it. Why aren't
Right.
we sharing it? What are we trying to prove? You know.
Yeah.
So we weren't sharing our salaries, right? So now I'm finding out that I'm making way less.
Mm.
And so now I had to go and have some conversations, change some things, and leverage that so I could get my salary to where it was. But we didn't know. And I realized that I'm leading teams, I'm doing all these things, and they're underpaying me drastically.
Wow.
That was corporate, and that's where we live there. And so now we get to leverage that, and we get to talk. We get to be in our networks amongst each other and say, hey, here's where I am.
Mhm.
You could be here too. And we get to move. We get to say, you know what? I don't have to stay at this company for 25 years.
Mm.
I can move to another company making sometimes, especially during this COVID thing,
Mm.
and when
Mm. Mm.
everybody was leaving their jobs, people were getting almost double their salaries. you know, it was
It was crazy,
it
yeah,
was
people were
crazy.
yeah, I know the nurses they were being given they
Whew.
were like, "Hey, if you go over here, we'll definitely hook you up," so it was
Mhm.
crazy.
I had a lot of
Yeah.
nurse clients at the time and during COVID, and they were just money was just
Yeah,
flowing.
yeah, yeah, no doubt about it. It was crazy.
Yeah.
It's a it's definitely a mindset, so I understand why
Mhm.
you, are a mindset coach
Yeah.
because it sounds like the mindset is what allows us to stay
Right.
some of it is because we were taught, "Yeah, you
Mhm.
shouldn't talk about your salary, that's the rule."
Right.
People just don't follow the rule, and
Mhm.
that mindset gets stuck in your head, and you definitely don't always feel like you deserve it, and
Exactly.
I hate when you have to, like, wait for somebody. I'm waiting for somebody to promote me, and
Mhm.
sometimes you gotta knock the door down, and
I don't
and
have time to be waiting.
it's just crazy. And then I saw you on LinkedIn discussing a topic that was entitled "How your excess weight is hindering your business growth," right?
Hmm.
And I was surprised to see that topic. So what's an example of that? Like how your excess weights? I mean, you kind of touched on it, but give us
Hmm.
another example of what that really looks like.
Yeah. So when we have the excess weight, it's a few things that are being impacted. One, confidence, right? We may hold on, we may, on the outside act like, because I was the queen of this back then.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I'm so, everybody thought I was so confident, but your energy comes through, and that
Mm-hmm.
fake confidence is shown. So that can impact your business, because the thing is, when you aren't feeling good here, right, you tend to not exude that in
That's
the way
right.
that you authentically, and
That's
people
right.
can sense that, the inauthentic authenticity in it, right? And then the other piece is clarity.
Mm-hmm.
So when we're eating a bunch of processed foods and things like that, right? Even if it's organic, because
Mm-hmm.
organic still can be processed. I was that person, that 300 plus pound person eating only organic, thinking I'm doing my thing, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Meanwhile,
Been there,
organic
done that.
has so many processed foods too, depending on what you're getting out of the pantry, right?
Yeah. Yeah. No doubt.
If you eating organic crackers, it's still crackers, and that was me. So what's happening in our business is, when we're eating these processed foods, it's really fogging our vision, right? So I
Mm-hmm.
like to show this as an example. When we remove, and we can't truly see where we're
Mm-hmm.
trying to go. And so now when we get to remove that, we get to truly see and step in our vision.
Mm. Mm.
On top of that, with that brain clarity, we end up in that kind of squirrel, like, oh, let me do this. Oh no, I got to do this now, and I got to do this now, because we can't fully envision everything. There's
Mhm.
no clarity here. We're
Mm.
we're struggling, and we have a million things going on in our heads, and it tends to cause overwhelm. So now we're stuck, and we're
Mm.
feeling like a failure, and self-sabotage is creeping up. And
But how
when
do you
those
overcome
things,
that? How do you do that? Like, how do you that just seems hard to get looped into that way of thinking, self-limiting thinking,
mhm,
uh, not having self-confidence. How do you get out of that loop when you've been spending most of your life doing that? Most people
mhm,
have struggled their whole life with that.
yep. And so it comes down to understanding where it came from.
Mhm.
You know, did it come from, someone sometimes it came, people always think that everything that we're doing came from this major trauma, right?
Mhm. Right.
Sometimes it comes from a kid on the playground saying, "You're ugly,"
Mm.
and now "you're ugly" stays. I have a
Mm.
client, her name is Cindy. And when we were working together, she was saying that something in her just feels like she doesn't quite have it. Like, she
Mhm.
doesn't feel like she's worth, you know, charging more. She doesn't feel like she's worth even helping the clients that she's helped. And I'm like, well, are your clients getting results? Yes.
Mhm.
She's a leadership coach. And her
Mhm.
clients are like, they are literally changing the game in this world,
Mhm.
right? And yet she was still feeling like she couldn't charge what she wanted to charge
Mm.
because she wasn't worthy. When we really uncovered, we worked together and we
Mhm.
uncovered what it was that was holding her back. There was in sixth grade, she went into the bathroom and there was this little girl who said, "Ill, you don't belong here." And her best friend at the time was standing next to that girl and didn't stand up for her.
Mm.
From that point on, she felt like she didn't belong. So
Mm.
now she doesn't belong in the room. She doesn't belong in the room to be able to charge at that level
Mhm.
for her clients. She doesn't, so it's these things that you'd be surprised where it's holding us back in our
Wow.
businesses, our relationships, and our lives overall.
Wow. That and this again goes back to root cause, right? So you're a problem. You're like a good engineer. You're just trying to
Well,
figure out things.
I was an engineer. So
Oh,
I have a master's degree in industrial
there you
engineering.
go.
So when you talk about
So
root cause analysis and the five whys, right? With
yes,
so
yes.
I have a black belt in Six Sigma.
Oh, yep.
and
I'm
lean
a huge
manufacturer
fan.
back in the
Hey,
90s. And,
I'm definitely. I used to actually be the medical director for our operating system, which was based on the lean methodology. I'm a huge fan of that. So you're
I
preaching
love
to
it.
the choir. Yeah, I
Mhm,
needed a framework from which to kind of how do I solve problems, and just having a framework was
mhm.
very helpful. So I appreciate that, and everything makes sense as you kind of shared. I'm like, oh, that, duh, okay,
There you
there
go.
you go.
'Cause
So,
my mind still thinks like an engineer.
well, please don't change because it's really adding value in so many ways with the people that you're teaching on YouTube and, of course, directly with your clients. So I know a very popular topic is belly fat. A lot of
Mhm.
people want to get rid of their belly fat. And so you've had a chance to lose a lot of weight. But people, if they lose weight and don't get rid of belly fat, they're still not happy, right? So if there some tips that you would share with my audience that would help them on their journey to tighten up those abs a little bit. So what would you say is a good way to do that?
Yeah. So there's a couple of things. I've got a video where I talk about it. I need to update the video too. But I have a video where I talk about, reducing your waistline, reducing belly fat.
Hmm.
And one of the things is, well, I'll just give some of the easier things and then one of the deeper things. So one
Hmm.
of them is keeping your abs engaged.
Mm.
So all the time, like people think about, oh, I'll keep. You've always heard, when you're doing squats or when you're doing this
Hmm.
exercise, keep your abs engaged. But I remember learning this when I was like 9 years old on one of my diets. We were watching Oprah, and this woman said, I think it might have been Susan Sarandon, said, I keep my abs engaged all the time. And from that point on, I thought, man,
Mm.
I should keep my abs engaged. Of course, I
Hmm.
didn't. But when I started losing the weight, I thought I remembered Susan Sarandon's
That's
comment,
right. That's
funny
right.
enough. And so that's something I started doing. And now all the time, I'm always keeping them
Mm.
engaged
I'm
because
doing it
what
right
it
now,
does,
by the way.
right? Exactly. As we start to learn that it actually strengthens our core,
Hmm.
right? So now our back is stronger and the entire core gets strengthened and it makes our body stronger. So
Hmm.
that's the first thing, is keeping your abs engaged. The second one is how you eat. When we eat things like sugar, carbs, it inflames us and our gut doesn't like it. So
Hmm.
therefore, we've got inflammation in our gut and boop, there we go, right? So as we eat things that are better for our body, even when we look at food sensitivity and stuff, when we eat things that are going to nourish our body and our gut, then our stomach will flatten, right? Will shrink. The other thing, and kind of one of the additional tips, is sleep and reduction of stress, because stress adds, that adds to that gut weight, right? That adds to the gut being imbalanced, and that adds to the stomach really getting bigger. That adds to inflammation, right? Like, so when we get our sleep, when we reduce the stress and overwhelm, right?
Hmm.
That stuck feeling. So your business isn't doing what you want it to do, or your career isn't growing. Maybe your kid is acting up at school, whatever. All of those things that are
Hmm.
causing stress, when we get to eliminate the stress, when we provide the tools, resources, and really and the strategies to reduce the stress,
Hmm.
even in times of adversity, because life is going to happen, it's going to come.
Hmm.
But there's tools here that allow us to reduce that stress, and when we do that, now it affects the abs, the stomach,
Yeah.
you know, and of course
That's
do
what I'm talking
planks.
about. Yeah, right.
But
Oh,
yeah.
no, no, don't say that. Yeah, yeah, I like that. So that sounds like some good advice, and it sounds like you do have to earn your way through it, but that engage the abs thing is something you can do so easily.
Easily. Mhm,
It's so easy to just be thoughtful and think about it. Another thing that is very popular in families and my patients is the alcohol issue,
mhm,
right? And I
mhm.
did see that you were a guest on Wine Lovers Wednesday. I don't know where I saw that, but I saw that. So, and some people, we go to our conferences, you'll see keto wine
Mhm.
sellers, but there are things that are just naturally low in carbs anyway. So I'm not
Right.
sure they need to do that way. But again, it's nice to know that there are options for people. So
Mhm.
so people like alcohol, and some people will say, if I got to give up the alcohol, doc,
Mhm.
I don't know if I can do this whole keto thing. So when patients come to you and you're trying to get them on their healing path, how do you deal with this alcohol question?
Yeah. Well, first, I like to understand how are they, what's their relationship with alcohol? You know,
Mhm.
if it's, a glass of wine every so often with dinner, then keep having your glass of wine. You're okay.
Mhm.
Just as long as it's a drier wine with,
Mhm.
no sugar added. I mean, if you're drinking the wine that my my aunts drank growing up, and that's not going to be the best wine for you. I feel like it was Kool-Aid and they were calling it wine. Like Kool-Aid with alcohol in it. It's pretty much what they were drinking. Let's not go with it. But a drier wine, Chardonnay,
Uh,
the white wines tend to be a little better. They tend to digest a little better and go better with the body. But if you're going to do like wine like that, but if your relationship with alcohol is when I'm stressed, I drink. When I'm this, I drink. Then we've got to develop real resources and tools around,
mhm. Mhm.
what to do in those times. So that's the biggest thing. But I will say the entire time that I lost the weight, I still drank, you know, a glass of wine every so often, uh, sometimes two glasses of wine. But it's about just being mindful of it, and
Mhm.
it's about the portion, like understanding how
Right.
much you can take in. Now, one thing I do, I have a whole section that I talk to clients about when it comes to alcohol, which is and I learned this the hard way myself, when you are in ketosis, you are not a heavyweight when it comes to alcohol, right?
Mm.
You are a lightweight. You cannot drink as much as you used to,
Mhm.
and you got to ease up, you know. So when you're in ketosis, one glass of wine will hit you like three.
That
You
is
know,
so good. That is so true. It is yes, yes, and that's great advice because people are not told that often, so they're
right?
not sure what happened, but absolutely need to be
Yeah.
more cautious. So
Mhm.
that's cool. But it's nice to know that in the right person under the right circumstances, they don't have to completely give up alcohol, is what you're
Right.
saying. So that's
Yeah, if
good
you
to
want to have
know.
a glass of wine at a wedding or something,
Right.
go
That's
for it,
right. That's right.
because
Yeah,
it's
I got.
it's about making it a lifestyle. We're thinking, when we have that mindset of, well, I've got to stop this, I've got to stop that, I got to stop all these things, what
Mhm.
happens is you end up looking at it as a diet. And so
Mhm. That's
now
right.
a diet meaning the way that word diet started being used in the 80s, when they put everybody on the diet. But when we look at it as a diet, what we do is we look at it as a situation where we now have to, it has an end date. It has a
Mhm.
target, right?
That's
I'm
right.
getting to this goal, this target, this goal. Once I get here, all bets are off. And
Mhm.
so when we give up everything, we get to that target, all bets are off. Now all the weight
Mhm.
comes back.
Mhm. Okay,
So
cool.
we've got to look at it as, how do we make this a lifestyle? How can this be something that we can sustain for lasting change and lasting results? Because
Mhm.
that's what's important.
Okay.
Because who wants to keep gaining and losing the same 30, 40 pounds
Mm-mm.
all their lives, you
That's
know?
right. That's right. Now,
Hmm.
I know you also sometimes sponsor challenges. So um, I think challenges are interesting because they definitely will engage people and get them into kind of a group of people that
Yeah.
are kind of trying to achieve the same goal. It's pretty inspiring. So, why do you think challenges are helpful to help people on their weight loss journey?
Yeah. So I have a challenge. I call it, it's a striving to thriving challenge.
Hmm.
And it's a 5-day challenge where we're helping you to admit to essentially, um, take control back in your body, so you
Hmm.
get to take control back in your business and in your life, you know. And so we put all of it together. And so the main thing, like the first pillar, is fueling yourself to be an accelerator.
Hmm.
And when you fuel yourself to be an accelerator, that means that you are deciding processed foods are out of here. No
Mm.
processed foods, or at least reducing the processed foods as much as possible. You're deciding to eat to nourish your body. How does my body feel and what does it need? To truly sit and listen. And the reason that works is because it helps to jumpstart it.
Mhm.
In those 5 days, you see the needle move in the way that you feel. Many times it even moves on the scale.
Mhm.
And you get to see the needle move in your business because of the clarity that you now have. So people are surprised at how much they can get and how much can change in their lives in just 5 days. But it can be a game changer because what happens is you start to have that sense of clarity quickly. And it's like you start to actually see what it is that you wanted in life.
Mhm.
You
Mhm.
get to see what it is you where you can actually go in your business or in your career.
Mhm.
And it jumpstarts things because when you see progress in your weight just in 5 days, you start to say, whoa, I might actually be able to do this. I'm seeing something happen. What if I did 5 more days? You
That
know?
makes sense. Everything about this, I didn't think about this until you started explaining, but yeah, I mean, you kind of gave examples of how you kind of got started in your journey. You gave examples of how a young girl says something mean to another young girl, and these little moments, right? So I could imagine that a challenge is a more of an extended version of that moment, and I can see how that could kind of be a catalyst to get you. So you helped me because I wasn't always sure why it was helpful, but now this makes total sense that sometimes we got to just challenge ourselves and get some information, provide some clarity, have some success, and then good things can happen. So that makes plenty of sense.
Yeah.
I'm
Exactly.
feeling that now.
Mhm.
Now, in terms of your 10-year plan, your 10-year vision of where you want to be, is there a place that you see yourself in 10 years now?
Mhm. Yep. So in 10 years, my youngest will be, she should be starting 12th grade, you
Hmm.
know? And so I see us in 10 years living in the way that we have been in terms of traveling the world still. So the boys will all be either in college or starting
Hmm.
careers or whatever it is they decide to do post high school. They'll be doing that. And I see us getting together during breaks and traveling the world,
Yeah,
going to
yeah.
this country, that country, even within the US, just continuing to travel and enjoy each other.
Hmm.
I set my coaching business up, and I will always set any business that I have up to where it gets to be remote. I get to do it
Hmm.
from wherever I want to do it from.
Yeah.
And the way I explained how my client Eva works 4 hours a day, that's my schedule. I work,
Hmm.
3 4 hours a day, and so I get to spend time with the kids. The reason they're having so much fun now, if you
Right,
can hear
right,
the
right, right.
background,
That's
is
right.
because right now we normally are just getting back from swimming, but
Mm,
today we didn't go swimming. We do swimming about 3 days a week, and
okay.
just go during the summer, and we just go out and just enjoy the pool, enjoy the area, and the kids are have lunch there, and we just have a ball. Because in 10 years, my plan, and now and in 10 years, my plan is always to work less, live more, make more,
Hmm.
feel great,
That's
you
right.
know, and
Yeah.
and be present. And that is
Well,
that is so important to me.
yeah, well, that's why their beautiful voices are so important to hear. I think it's so appropriate that we hear their voices during this podcast because that's what we live for, right? I mean, my
Mhm.
kids are older now. They're, literally graduate from college and one is in graduate school, which I
Yeah,
still don't believe that's actually, they're not my kids because I don't believe I'm that old, right?
I know, right?
But
He was in college.
But right, it can't be. But I'm gonna tell you something. It's nice to be present. Even today, my oldest, I had a chance to interact with my oldest and youngest son. And my oldest son, he has a podcast called Ritmos Negros, where it's Black Rhythms in Spanish. But we were doing some work outside, and me and my wife are not fluent in Spanish, so we literally called my son, who's very fluent, and he's interacting with the gentlemen who are going to be doing the work. And it's like you're sitting there like you're always amazed because he's like doing his thing. So kids are everything. You got to have time. There are times when my kids call me so busy you can't even respond. Nice to be
Mhm.
able to respond and be engaged. So I love that. So let's kind of wrap
Exactly.
up with uh, my nest and rope. And when you think about the nest and rope, where do you want to put the most attention over the next 12 months to help you achieve your goals?
Hmm. So when I'm thinking about the nest and rope, the biggest thing that came to me, and I was looking at the nest and rope too, and I want to make sure that I have the acronym,
Yes,
completely
yes.
completely right, because it was I thought it was so cool when I was
And
reading it, and I was like, whoa, this is nice. I like the way this is put together.
yeah.
Um, So
And
the
it's definitely, it's just so you know, it's from the functional medicine tree, the roots of the functional medicine tree. That's why you resonate with me, because you talk about root cause, root cause. Well, what's the
Mhm.
root cause of chronic disease? It's
Yeah.
primarily in that nest and rope.
Oh, I love that. Yep. And so the one that resonates with me the most is the T in the nest, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
how you think, right?
Mm-hmm.
How you think, less trauma, right?
Yes.
Really stepping into and understanding how you're mastering your mindset so you get to master your life,
Mm.
because that's the biggest thing. I always talk about in my challenges, I talk a lot about the word mastery, right?
Mm.
And mastery is essentially something that you can do subconsciously without even thinking. And it's like, why can't we master our mindset, have mastery
Mm-hmm.
over our mindset, have
Mm-hmm.
mastery over our bodies, have mastery over our businesses? Like, you can do that. Like, it is okay, and it is a great thing, and you feel
Mm.
better. So that is a big thing. And then of course the N and the E always steps out to me,
Always.
because in order to have that mastery, that nutrition has to be there.
It's got to be there.
I think many of us underestimate how much nutrition affects the brain and
Mm-hmm.
affects the level of thinking and the way we
Mm-hmm.
think and what we're able to do. You
Mm-hmm.
know, how quickly we think, how quickly we move, right? And then I'm big on the exercise, because it's always like, you move it or you lose it. Like,
That's right.
if we sit in one space all the time, part of
That's
the
right.
reason so many people are struggling is because we're sitting all day long.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Okay.
like, I tell my clients, get up,
Get
even if
out.
it's for like 2 minutes every hour, right?
Mm-hmm.
Get up, walk around, even if you're just walking to the living room back to your desk,
That's right.
get up and move.
Get up.
Because when we don't, that's when you start hearing more and more of those cracks every time you get up,
You
right?
have to move.
You got
It's an understatement. I had a patient just today, and she was like, "I don't know why I'm so stiff," but I say,
to.
you're not moving. So I gave her some simple things she can start doing to move, but I have to focus on their brain first and help them understand why movement is so important.
Right.
You don't want to just say you need to exercise. You have to say, why is that important?
Mhm.
And what are you going to be able to do if you're able to move? Just like you
Right.
mentioned earlier, I want to be able to get on the floor of my son and not look at me and say, "No, don't worry, mom, you're fat." We don't want to have to hear that or experience that. So I love that. So thank you so much.
Mhm.
I'm really, really thankful. You tell your kids I love them.
They are so
And that they
loud.
were part of this episode, didn't even know it. And it's all good. And we want to be we want to be present. So I really hope that they enjoy you when you wrap up with me. And I appreciate you. And I'm looking forward to doing some projects with you in the future, get some messages out. So we'll make
Mhm.
sure to do that as well. And how can people find you?
Yeah. So the best way, thank you so much first. This has been amazing. And speaking of the kids, the one thing, when I started YouTube, I used to always apologize. Oh, sorry for my kids in the
No,
background. And I remember someone said to me, "Why are you apologizing?
right?
Like, they're your kids, that's their house." And I was like, you know what? You're right.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know?
yeah.
And so they are ridiculously loud.
That's
And
right.
and every time I hear it, it makes me feel good. It makes me
That's
know
right.
why
That's
I'm
right.
doing this,
That's right. That's right.
and I just hope that people can hear me over them, because they
Yeah,
are
they can. I can hear you.
okay.
My headphones are confirming.
So so people can find me by either going DMing me right on Instagram, and I always welcome the DM. Send me a message, especially if you're feeling like, you really want to be in that space where you work less, live more, feel better, and are more present, right?
Hmm.
If you're in that space, definitely send me a DM and let's chat. But you can also reach out to me by joining my challenge. I host a challenge every month, and it's called
Yes.
Striving to Thriving. And it's literally my favorite thing.
Hmm.
I enjoy it so much because I see changes in people in these 5 days. Like,
Yes.
you get to truly change, like, your body, your mindset, and really changing your business in
Mm,
5 days. It's really impactful.
cool.
Um, and I really enjoy it. It's one of my favorite things.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, we'll make sure to have links to all of that good stuff. The challenges are on Facebook, or where are the
Yeah.
challenges at?
It's actually, yeah, it's on Facebook. Yeah, it's on Facebook right now. I've thought
Okay.
about moving it to another space, but right now it's on Facebook and on Zoom. So for folks who don't have
Okay,
Facebook,
cool. they
Yeah,
can
there's a
actually still
VIP where
get
they can
to it.
join the
Okay,
Zoom.
cool.
Hmm.
All right, well, cool. But again, we appreciate you and the crew
Yeah.
for giving us this great episode. I'm definitely a family guy, so I love this. The voices of kids is like music to my ears. We just recently had a clinician on one of our huddle calls and working from home, and they actually, we kind of mentioned the kids, and then like out of nowhere, her child started talking to us, and we were like, we all melted. I was like, oh, so we love kids. So again, shout out to them. But thank you so much for the work you're doing to inspire women and others, men, of course, as well, to find another path and change their mindset. So thank you. And
Hmm.
again, my audience will be blessed with this episode. So thanks again. Okay.
Thank you.
All right. So guys, as we wrap up today's episode, keep in mind that when you're looking for someone to seek advice from, it's helpful when you know they've walked the walk. So let's all pause for a moment and celebrate our guest's remarkable achievement. 120 pounds is amazing, and she's spreading the message of hope. And I'm just hoping that somebody was inspired today from her story so that you can take a similar uh, journey. And what she reminded us of is that it's okay to struggle. It's definitely okay to get up and try again, So because life is a journey, and struggle is going to be part of it. So I tell my patients, don't ever give up. Don't ever lose hope. Don't ever not believe you can achieve your goals. So whether you're trying to lose weight, professional development, or achieve some other personal goal, know that many of us will find it much easier if we have a partner, a coach, somebody to take us along our journey. So I really hope you enjoyed today's episode. And as I always say, continue to be safe, be well, and continue to protect your nest. And thanks again for being with me today. Appreciate you.